Now, if you're one of those people that love to look at mangas that you yourself do not own, or want some confirmation bias on having the exact same manga as the people you're watching, then boy, do I have the video for you, which is just me telling you that this is my manga collection as of 2023. Hello my brothers and sisters, my name is Darius, and before we get into my manga collection, I want to do, as I always do with these manga collection videos, take a look at 2023 as a whole. So we're gonna take a look at my manga haul of 2023. Now there are a few standouts here that I'm really proud of. First of all, we finally got Blade of the Immortal, the Deluxe Edition, completed that. It was so satisfying to finally get that done. Then there was Fire Force. We also managed to collect all of it. And now I have the complete collection. Then there's Fire Punch. This series has been staring me in the face each year since 2020. For me to start collecting it, I finally managed to do so. There's also Solo Leveling, the light novels. Sure, they're not mangas, but I actually managed to finish those off as well. There is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 5. We also managed to complete that series this year. And we also managed to complete all of Pokemon Adventures Black and White. I am now exceptionally close to actually be caught up with Pokemon Adventures. Just all in all, 2023 was my biggest year of collecting manga ever. I managed to get 114 volumes, which of course, if you live in America or Japan, it is not that big of a deal, but when you live in Europe, that is a lot. At least I think so. So, that is my manga haul as of 2023. But what does my collection looks like when you add that to my existing collection? Let's go and find out. Alright, as always, when we get to these top shelf here, it's gonna be awkward for me standing here, but I'm gonna try to make do. So on the first shelf just behind me, you have Berserk in Dark Horse Beautiful Deluxe Edition. All 14 volumes that are currently out, it's all complete. And what I love about these 14 volumes is that it is the entirety of what Kentaro Miura, the author, drew of Berserk, every single chapter. You can get a bit wonky on the final chapter because he only drew some of it, but nevertheless, this is everything he ever did. And I now own them in the Deluxe Edition. I highly recommend it. It is not for everyone. It is a dark fantasy. It is very mature. But if you can stomach it, this is one of the greatest pieces of fiction. Period. Not just manga. Period. But Berserk, the Deluxe Editions. And also, if you are wondering if you should get the Deluxe Editions, only if you have the budget. If you do not have the disposable income to get these, I would just stick with the singles, but these are definitely worth it. Alright, down to the shelf below. I'm sorry I didn't have much to say about Berserk, but let's just say I have a video coming up later this year. Anywho, onto this shelf. Now this could basically be called the Naoki Urasawa shelf, if not for some volumes we see over here, but we will get to them in a moment. First off, on this shelf here, we have Monster, a very famous crime psychological thriller by Naoki Urasawa. It is very slow paced, but it is very effective of creating tension. It's such a good series. I won't necessarily call it a masterpiece, but it is damn near close. Maybe it is a masterpiece now that I think about it. Anywho, it is very realistic, and it also means that what you normally get when you're thinking of manga and action, you do not get that in here. But instead you get what could basically just be a crime TV series. Just a very high production, very well told, directed, all that shizzle crime series. It is very good. I highly recommend it. I also love these volumes. I say this every year, but instead of having a panoramic either spine connection or front cover connection, instead this goes with a 3x3 kind of mural that when you lay them out, these covers of these, they create this wall of these images. I just think that's a neat idea, that you kind of have to put them together like a puzzle, because that's kind of the mystery in here. You know, put them I'm just rambling right now, but yeah, I highly recommend Monster, especially if you're looking for something more normal, natural in manga. You have done all your action battle shonen or battle seinen or whatever age category you want to throw at it. You have seen a lot of battle manga. You just want things to be dialed down a bit. Monster is a possible route you could go. Next to that we have 20th Century Boys. And this, just as with Monsters, this is the perfect edition. It is also the full series. This I cannot say much about because I have yet to read it. The reason is this is one of the series I plan on doing a manga review for in the future when I get around to it. But until then, I'm not gonna read it. But I have heard such great things about it, and I have high hopes for this series. I mean, it is Naoki Urasawa, so just that alone should be telling you this is gonna be a great series. But anyway, what I love about this series, of the little things I know about it, at least what I loved about this edition of the series is the spines, the connected spines. I love when mangas try to do connected spines, and I only have like 3 mangas, I think. I only have 4. I have 4 series, maybe more, maybe I'm missing some, but I'm pretty sure I only have 4 series that does that. Please do more, make it look like a complete set when you have all of it. But anyway, this has this pixelated picture of what I think is the main bad guy. I'm not entirely sure. But another thing I also love about it is the front covers. It is these profile pictures of different characters from the series, I guess. And it always has this 20th Century Boys, or Naoki Urasawa presents 20th Century Boys, or something like that on the front cover. But then you have volume 8 and 21st Century Boys, which doesn't have a number. They just changed it a bit to Yuhu Kenjiku come out of play for volume 8 and Sutala and Gutala, I believe, just trying to go by memory, on 21st Century Boys, so trying to make them stand out. But anywho, I am looking very much forward to reading 20th Century Boys. A lot of people are saying it is his greatest work and have read Monster. I mean, that is a high bar to cross, but maybe this will be able to when I finally get around to it. Hopefully this year, but I make no promises. Next to that is not Naoki Urasawa. The only reason I put them here is twofold. One, they kind of have the same height, so it's nice even flow of the spines. And 2, they fit. I mean, as a manga collector, that's just some of the challenges you face, is how do you organize your shelves and how you want to organize them versus how you can organize them is 2 very different. Anyhow, these are Nekomajin, which is I would say a spin-off manga of Dragon Ball, but it's really not. It's just weird side stories with this character called Nekomajin. It's very, very fun. And then next to it is Manga Theater, with just all the one-shots that Akira Toriyama has done throughout his career. There are a lot. Even his first manga one-shot ever. Which is rough, but there's also a lot of great stories in here. I highly recommend you reading it if you are a fan of Akira Toriyama. He actually gets a chance to show other writing styles than just Dragon Ball action, which is always nice to see, because that's what he's famous for. But yes, that is this shelf right here. So like you will see with a lot of the other shelves, it's a lot of mismatch between genres and publishers and also authors. But again, I just have to make the volumes fit somewhere. On to the next one. Oh, this sucks. This is the part where we're getting too far low, and it is a bit difficult to find a comfortable height for either standing or sitting. Anywho, you might wonder, why do you block the entire shelf? I came here to see shit. Well, as you will see in a moment, This is a non-manga shelf, and instead of spending a lot of time on this shelf, I'm just gonna show you quickly some B-roll and then we're gonna move on forward. But basically this is my comic shelf where you have some webcomics in printed formats, you have some Disney comics but in Danish, and you have some American superhero comics, which you probably know them when you see them, but yes, so a comic shelf, not a manga shelf. You're here for a manga collection, so let's just jump on to the next one, shall we? Alright, I hope this works again. I am very sorry that I'm blocking this, but I hope the B-roll is good enough. Otherwise, I'm gonna try and move. I mean, not that you can complain and me be able to hear it in real time as I record it, but anywho. Onto the shelf below the non-manga shelf. Onto the good stuff. And I actually mean this. This is the very good stuff, at least when you think about manga volume quality. Because both this shelf right here and the one below is hardcovers. And you might not know at this point, since you've only seen one hardcover in my collection, besides my my 2023 haul. But I am a sucker for hardcover. I just love reading hardcovers more than paperbacks because they're sturdier. You don't feel like you're constantly breaking them. You don't get a crease on the spine, and in general, the paper quality will also be higher. But I guess that is discussion for another time. Anywho, the first one right here is the Full Metal Alchemist in the Full Metal edition of this Shonen Battle manga series. This is one of my favorites. It is really the complete package. It has everything. It is not longer than it needs to be. It managed to tell its story in a satisfying way. It makes it feel like everything was planned out from the beginning, even though I'm not sure it was. And I love this series so much that the first tattoo I ever got was a modification, but the one that Scar has. That's, I mean, in case you don't know who Scar is, it's this dude, and you can see his tattoo here. So this tattoo you can kind of see on his arm here. It is the one I got. This was such a big deal for me that I made a video on the theme of completing a series and why it's important. I don't know why this one's particular. I think the reason this one particular was the one that inspired me to do it, because it took such a long time for it to get out. And because it means so much to me. But anyway, Full Metal Alchemist in the Full Metal edition. I highly recommend, if you have the disposable income, but just in general of all the more deluxe editions, if you have the budget for it, I would recommend getting it in those editions. Given that you do not care about spines. The Full Metal editions is kind of an exception because the spines are awesome. They are different colored text and such, but others they're kind of boring. But for them, I don't get them for how they look on the shelves, even though it's kind of part of why you should get a specific edition of a book. But anyway, I care more about the reading experience. So reading experience, top priority, and then how it looks on the shelf right there. But, you know, reading experience for first and foremost. But besides, that one is a completely different series, and I could break it up, but I'm not gonna. And that is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 complete. I love saying that. I love this series. There's nothing like it. You can see people try to recommend JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. You can see them try to explain JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. But in reality, the easiest way to do it is just go read it, go watch it, and then you will know it is pretty difficult to explain what JoJo's is, except that it is a generational battle against evil for this one family called the Joestars, which is an awesome surname. It is wacky shit, but it is some good wacky shit. Please, I beg of you, if you haven't read JoJo's, do it. Alright, so that's these two shelves. Full Metal Alchemist, the Full Metal Edition, and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 1 up until Part 5. Now we need to get further down and I have to lay down. See you down there. I always dread this part. Because yeah, we are against the floor. It's right there. And yeah, I'm just gonna have to suffer for this, for your enjoyment. Oh, gee, I'm just gonna... I should make sure to wear a hoodie every time I do these from now on. Okay, so the two bottom shelf of this whole shelf case. The first one, what here, I don't know why I'm doing that accent, but what are you gonna do? The first one is a very important series. Now you could argue that every series in my collection should be important, otherwise why collect it? This is probably the most important series in my collection. And not only that, this volume that I'm touching right here is the most important volume. And in case you don't know, it's because it's the first volume I ever bought. It's what got me into manga collecting. In the beginning I only collected Dragon Ball as it came out in Denmark, where I live. But then slowly it expanded to some of the series you see down here. There's also a series on the other shelf case at the same height, the bottom shelf. But nevertheless, that's the one that started it all. You can see the year that it actually came out, and not only the year, I believe it was in June or July, or maybe August of that year, it came out. So I've been collecting a long time. I think it's, oh shit, it's almost 20 years, if not more. Which, when you think about it, 20 years and your collection is not bigger. Well, the thing is, there was a big pause, and also you have to remember that the initial part, which is majority of the first manga collection video I ever did, do not look at it because it is very, very bad. But anyway, that was bought by me as a teenager with zero cash, whereas everything you have seen since then that I've accumulated has been bought with adult money. And everyone who watches this who is an adult and, you know, have an adult job knows that adult money just hit difference, especially when all your bills and expenses have been paid and you have disposable income to spend on, among other things, manga. It just hits differently. So yeah, but anyway, this is the one that got me into it. And again, I shouldn't really have to introduce Dragon Ball. Everyone know what Dragon Ball is. Even if you don't know what manga is, you have heard the phrase Dragon Ball. And also probably, but can he beat Goku? Maybe he can. But anyway, Dragon Ball, awesome series. Also, that is one of the series that actually has connected spines. And in case you are wondering why is it in black, well, as I just stated, it is in Danish. So that's why. So at least my I think German friends and Norwegian and Swedish French friends is also having a black edition, if I'm not mistaken. Could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that the Scandinavian departments of Carlsen manga is a black edition. So that's the reason why. But yeah, I love this series. One of the best paneling in any action manga ever. The only one to come close is Yusuke Murata from One Punch Man, the manga remake. Just FYI, this is phenomenal. And then next to me, right there, it is a How to Draw manga by Akira Toriyama and Akira Sakuma, I think. It's basically how he draws manga, or at least drew manga, his processes, tools, yada yada yada. Even if I don't draw manga, it is still an entertaining read. So if you can get it, give it a try. Alright, so that is the most important shelf, my Dragon Ball shelf, the one that started it all, which is also the one that probably needs a refresh at some point. So I can keep this as is and then read some newer version, maybe a this version, but not really. This is the uncensored version, so I'm sticking with that. The shelf behind me, below it, is what I will call the trash shelf, but not trash enough that I'm actually gonna sell off this manga. This is mostly the Danish cancelled manga. So in 2010, the Danish branch of Carlsen Manga, which is, I think is a German publication company, they closed down all of their manga translations for good, which meant Fullmetal Alchemist, Naruto, and another series we're gonna get to later on just got cancelled. No more volumes were released, so they are now unfinished. But I have nostalgic value attached to them, specifically Naruto and the other series, because I actually was in communication with the translator at the point. So I'm not giving those off, but I do have plans at some point of getting the Viz box set. I mean, not for this, but for Naruto, the Viz box sets to complete it that way. Fullmetal Alchemist, I just did the Fullmetal editions. And then over here you have Pluto Volume 7 and 8. Those are misbiased, then those I could sell off. They are in German. I wanted to get them in English. My German is not very, very good because I have not spoken it for more than... It's almost 20 years at this point. Jesus Christ, I'm getting old. Almost 20 years I have not spoken German, so yeah. It was just me being stupid. And then there are some volumes behind me. You can kind of see them. There. They are just some old Dragon Ball anime movies that was turned into manga. So they just took the panels, stills from the movie and arranged them on a page and called it a day. They're not good. Don't get them if you see them out in the world just because it is Dragon Ball in color. Just don't do it. They are trash. But no one wants to buy them, so. But yes, that is... Oh, I'm just gonna lay down a bit. Oh, my neck. That is my first bookcase of manga. Still have 2 complete bookcases to go. 1/3 of the way. Yes. See you in a bit. Oh. It's almost like I'm getting too old to lay down on the floor for these videos. But anywho, we are back up again under the shelf case just next to this one. Oh, this one, the other one. And from here on out, you will probably see a lot more variety on each shelf because we are getting to the shorter series. So there's just room for more different. Not always, but we'll get to that. But anyway, now on to the next one. And this, again, I mean, there is a lot of hardcovers we're gonna go through here. But yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna keep beating around the bush. Yes, I love hardcovers. But anyway, let's get on to this shelf, Mobile Suit Gundam The Origin, which is a fine series. At least in my opinion, I think it is fine. These editions specifically is one of, if not the highest quality manga editions I own, and I wish every other volumes in my collection was of this quality. If you are a mecha manga fan, you should get these, if for no other reason. I mean, there are 2 reasons. One, the quality of it, and secondly, this is the one that's more or less, I'm not sure it started it all, but it popularized it. And not this series specifically, but this series is a remake of the original anime from the 70s, which was the one that popularized it. So sometimes you just have to show your respects to the roots of the things that you like. But other than that, Mobile Suit Gundam The Origin could have been better, but fine. Next to it, we have All You Need Is Kill, which is the most light-hearted series on this shelf. If you have seen Edge of Tomorrow, well, that was based on a Japanese novel, short novel. This is just the manga version or adaptation of that novel. So basically, this is Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise, the manga. What's not to like? It is the art is by Takeshi Obata, which is the dude who drew Death Note. Which, say what you will about Death Note, the art is, and it is in here as well. It is fine. It is a fine sci-fi, but it is a single 2-in-1 volume, which at least make it a quick read and an enjoyable read, if I have to say so myself, which I have, because this manga. Anyway, next to that we have Planetes by the legendary Makoto Yukimura. But what I like about Planetes is not just the art. The art is always the easiest selling point, but besides that is his characters. He always nails character. It could be a good character, it could be a bad character, but he makes that character believable. He gives it depth, and he just shows it masterful in here. Planetes, sci-fi, space, janitors having some life crisis, midlife crisis, or identity crisis. Give it a go. It's only 2 volumes. Next to that we have probably my personal favorite Inoue Asano work, Solanin. It is not just one of my favorite works of his, it is just one of my favorite volumes in my collection. I love short stories that can be confined to 1 or 2 volumes, and this is at the top easily. And next to that we have his most famous work, Goodnight Punpun. Basically Depression, the manga. If you have not read it, be very, very careful. It deals with want to no longer be among the living. I don't know if YouTube will accept that, but yeah, it's one of those type of series. It follows Punpun throughout his young to young adult life, so kindergarten until just after college, roughly. And all the turbulence that he faces, and just a great showcase of life just keep kicking you while you're down, just keeping you there, and just start, just pummel you, just finding tools and interesting ways to use these tools to just beat you over and over again. That's Goodnight Punpun, and that is basically my top shelf. It is probably my most adult shelf besides the Berserk, because that's the only series there, if you dismiss this one. If I could find another series that was a 2-in-1 omnibus and only fit there and was more adult themed, then I could make this shelf my adult shelf. But then again, I don't know if you want to consider Wobuzu Gundam the Origin an adult series. But that is the first shelf. Let's get on to the next one. Hello. Alright, this is the one I alluded to before, and also I think you can correct me, but I think a lot of you actually like me talking about these shelves, specifically because those are the ones you always see at the back of my normal videos. But I could be wrong. Anyway, this shelf has Vinland Saga. It is also by Makoto Yukimura, the guy who did Planetes. This is one of the greatest series I have ever read. Vinland Saga is basically Vikings, the manga, but it is much more than that. This is one of the greatest character development ever. The character development of Thorfinn in this series, which is the main character, is utterly insane. He goes from an angsty teen who is only set out for revenge, and then goes on to no aim, regret, and then trying to find goals and what can he actually ask of life, and what ambitions is he allowed to have. And then this volume right here, especially the last chapter of that volume, broke me. I have read a lot of manga. I made a few series. None has ever managed to make me cry or get me close to crying. You know, where you actually get waters in your eyes get watery. You might not actually have tears, but if you squint, tears will drop. None of them has made me cry. But the final chapter in this one did. It actually made me cry. That's all I'm gonna say. If you have not read Vinland Saga, do it. Next to me we have Alice in Borderland, which is a series I have not yet read yet. But what I understand is that it is kinda like Squid Game or Battle Royale. It sounded intriguing, but also what I like about this series is that it's one of the few series I have that has connected spine art. Here it is, this city with these light beams. But yes, that is this shelf. And the next shelf is a bit interesting, but I say that each year, but you will see why. So let's get on to the next shelf. Finally, I can sit down. for maybe only this one shelf in the most squeaky office chair ever. What a misbuy, but that's how it is. So this shelf right here is a bit special, and the reason is that you have a lot of different type of manga related stuff. First off, over here we have 2 volumes of Shonen Jump from Japan. It is volume 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 of 2021. The reason I have those is that they are the ones that have chapter 999 and chapter 1000 of One Piece, and I am a stupidly big fan of One Piece. I love that series. It is my currently favorite ongoing manga. Next to that we have Color Walk 1 and the Color Walk Compendiums 1, 2 and 3 from Viz. The Color Walk is the Danish version, and then Viz did Color Walk 1 and 2, and then they said screw it, we're just gonna make hardcover compendiums instead. Basically what they are, they're just art collections. So that's gonna be color spreads and Shonen Jump covers and other stuff that Oda has made of One Piece throughout his run, collected into these books here. Awesome. Next to that we have the complete art of Fullmetal Alchemist. Now, with a title like that, you might think it is a Fullmetal Alchemist art book, but I'm here to tell you, you are correct. It is exactly that. I actually didn't have to get this because all the color spreads in the Fullmetal edition are in color, but it also has a few extra details. It has an interview, and also, even if the Fullmetal editions have color pages in them, this is bigger, so you're looking at bigger art pieces, which is good. Next to that we have 3 Naruto art books. The 2 first ones are in Danish and the last one is in English. The first one is my favorite because it has the most extra material, it has the most commentary, and then it just gets less and less. Like he got more and more tired of the series and just wanted to end. So this is basically just the illustrations and no commentary from him. It's kind of disappointing, but it is what it is. Next to that we have the Danish version of the Dragon Ball art book. I think it's called Visual Storytelling or something in English. It is awesome. It also has an interview of them, which is great. And next to that, this is just a learn to draw manga kinda, but it is more in the vein of learn to draw Dragon Ball. I have never used it, but it is a piece of my childhood. Maybe I will at some point learn how to draw Dragon Ball. This right here is a biggie. This is the legendary Akira, one of the greatest and most important manga ever. This is not an understatement. This series is fantastic. It is insane how well crafted it is. Highly recommended. If you only watch the movie, then you've basically only seen up until almost the end of volume 3, but a lot of things has been skipped. And I'm here to tell you, the best part of Akira is the last 3 volumes. So did that sell it for you? I hope so. Alright. On to the next shelf. Okay. Back to the awkward part of me sitting here. I hope the B-rolls are enough to entertain you and not that you just want to get a close-up all the time of this. If not, let me know in the comments below, and then I'll try to update it for the manga collection video of 2024. It's still insane to me to say that it's the year 2024. Anywho, back to manga. So over here we have Pluto, and Pluto is a reimagining of the Pluto arc of the original Astro Boy. Now this series, haven't read it yet. I'm saving it for a manga review. I am looking very much forward to see what the Pluto arc is about, and maybe after I've read that one I will read the original just to have a comparison. Next to that is my Junji Ito collection consisting of Gyo, it is Uzumaki, and it's Tomie. I am not the biggest fan of Junji Ito, at least based on these 3 books. Uzumaki is definitely the greatest one. He has very interesting, grotesque ideas of horror. For that he is a master, but to then string together a cohesive story, or at least a story that motivates you to keep reading to get to the next scary part, not so much, but that's just my take. Then next to that one, we have Death Note in the Black Edition. There's not much to say about Death Note. It is pretty much known by everyone. And in case you want to know, what is Death Note? I'm one of those people that don't know Death Note. Basically, a high school or the equivalent of very intelligent guy in Japan finds this notebook. Turns out when he thinks of a person's face while correctly writing their name in the notebook, then a couple of seconds later, I can't remember how far, but it doesn't matter, that person will die. That's it. Now you just have to not get caught while he tries to change the world. Good luck. Next to that one, we have Death Note short stories. It's just the few short stories that follow the end of Death Note and how to read Death Note. If you're wondering why does it say 13, it's because originally there are 12 volumes of Death Note, and when you get the box set, you get the 12th volume as well as volume 13, which is the how to read. It's basically just a data book. Extra material of the series. Next to that we have Uzundame, which is my one and only ecchi manga. I'm not the biggest fan. I only read this one series of the ecchi genre. Kinda heartbroken, especially if you're really into it. You will probably cry at the end. Or if you are like me, you will not. Uzundame. Also this, if you want this series physically, then good luck, because it is out of print, as in it is not getting printed anymore. It is by Yen Press, and they are notorious for discontinuing printing of series. Again, something we'll get onto later on. I managed to get this as it was going out of print. Some of these are second-hand volumes, especially volume 2. But yeah, some of them are second-hand, others I had to pay double for. I mean, only one I had to pay double for. But yeah, that's besides mine. And then the final 3 over here, we have Gigantomaxia, which is a one-shot volume manga by Kentaro Miura, the author of Berserk. It is a decent story, and of course the art is insane, but also it is nice to see something other than a dark fantasy manga that is just pure depression by him. And then next to that we have Kajiga and also Sandland, which is 2 Danish versions of Akira Toriyama single volume manga series. Sandland is probably my favorite writing of his, and Kajiga is just Dragon Ball Light. Not that I have to undersell it, it's still good, it's just what it is. But yeah, that is this shelf. There's not much to say about it. Some of the series speaks for themselves, others don't. The next one is really gonna show off how big of a man-child I am. So let's get to it. So, this is the proof that I'm just a big child. Man-child, I should probably specify. I'm not a big child, but I am a man-child. This is Pokemon Adventures, which is basically Pokemon the games, the manga. What I have here is the completed series of Red and Blue and Yellow, also the green chapters, Gold, Silver and Crystal, Ruby and Sapphire, Fire Red, Leaf Green, Emerald, Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Black and White completed, and then the first 2 volumes of Black 2 and White 2. That is Pokemon Adventures. I'm not gonna say more, it is a fun kid-friendly series. I really highly recommend it, if you like Pokemon, that is. But yes, Pokemon Adventures, such a great series, such fun series. Never knew that taking Pokemon in that direction would make sense, at least when thinking about the game stories. But yeah, I'd enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to getting the rest when it comes out. And also, this is the proof that I'm a big man-child. On to the 2 last shelves. We are. Jesus Christ. That detail end of this bookcase. To bring too much noise. Okay, so over here, just one second, voice recording stuff. So over here is the data part of there you go. Is the data part of my for fuck's sake. Is the data part of my Pokemon Adventures, and next to it we have this series right here. This is Black Clover, which I have read most of. It is not up to date. I think volume 34 either has or will soon drop, so I'm still a bit behind. It is very generic battle manga series, but it does it very effectively. I do recommend it if you like battle manga. generic battle manga. Doesn't matter if you like battle manga, you probably like Black Clover. And just beneath that you have the other cancelled Danish manga that I own. It is One Piece, and consider it, I am such a big fan of One Piece, why do I not own all of One Piece that is out? I will at some point get One Piece, the box set. But also it could be that in the future maybe this would release a full metal edition version of One Piece with the digitally colored, because there is an official digitally colored version of One Piece. I would like that very much. But if that doesn't happen, I'm just gonna get the box sets. I don't need to rush it. That's what I'm trying to say. But it is the Danish version. And also, not only do I have all the released Danish version of this based on the German and the same as the Scandinavian volumes, which writes blue, but I also have One Piece Red and One Piece Blue, which is some of the data books. But yes, that is this bookcase. There's not much to it. This is also a a cancelled shelf or trash shelf, but again, I was writing the author, well not the author, the translator on this series while it came out, which is why it is very, very dear to me. But now we only have one bookcase left, and that will be it. That will probably also be the one that has most different series in it, maybe, maybe not, I don't know. But let's get to it, shall we? Oh, alright. We are finally at the last shelf case. I think we have moved a little too much to one side. Let me just adjust the camera, but keeping it in, because why not? Alright, we're gonna start with the top shelf on this final shelf case. It actually has some non-manga in it, but it's still relevant. So, first off, over here we have Parasite. I bought these before the announcement of the color version. Had I known, I would probably have gone with the color versions, not because they are in color, but because they are in hardcover. However, since I now have these, I will not sell these and then get the color version. That's just how it is. I've also not read this yet, and you're probably guessing a theme here. If it is completed and I have not started reading it yet, that's because I am saving it for a review, I know. But it is an OG, and of what I have heard and what I've seen of it, it seems like an awesome series, and I'm looking forward to experiencing it. Next to that, we have Solo Leveling, the light novels, all 8 volume of it, so it is also complete. I have also not read this yet. They're not manga, they're just light novels, so I won't spend too much time on them. But next to it, you have Solo Leveling, the webtoon, which is basically just an online manhwa where you scroll vertically. I have read all of Solo Leveling on the webtoon, and now I'm just collecting these by Yen Press, and they are actually pretty awesome. The first volume is not that well put together. It's not bad, but it seemed like that they were trying to figure out how to do this vertical medium and make it work in a book format. And they didn't quite get their handle on it, but then from volume 2 and onwards, it feels like a natural comic, a natural manga, but just in color, and they are awesome. I really do love it. Very high action focused, the art is insane, the characters are not always consistent, but it is not too bad. It's just that you don't get too much out of it, and the concept is not always fully explored, but it doesn't really matter because the series is just pure fun. Next to that, we have Chainsaw Man, which I have read all of. I'm all caught up on Chainsaw Man. I mean, volume 13 has just come out, so I'm not caught up per se on reading the manga. I am. That's a series I did not expect going the direction that it actually did, but I'm glad it did, because it is unpredictable, and that's what makes it engaging, because it's unpredictable in an interesting way, and it actually managed to do something unique and worthwhile with this unpredictability, unlike other series. So Chainsaw Man, it also is also not for everyone, not just because of its wacky style, but also because it is gory as hell. Next to that, we have a non-manga entry again, which is Manga in Theory and Practice, which is basically just how Araki, who created JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, he creates manga, and how he thinks the golden way of creating manga is. Now, even though it is how he created manga and how he thinks a lot of manga artists create successful manga, there's a lot of point in there I do not agree with, but it does not make it a less interesting read. Next to that, we have Fullmetal Alchemist, the 20th anniversary book. What this is that the Full Metal edition emits the side stories that were present in the paperback singles. So they made this booklet, which I think is awesome because a lot of people was complaining about the Full Metal edition not having this, which is why they went either with the paperbacks or the 3-in-1 omnibuses. But now you don't have to let that be the decision of why you're not getting the Full Metal editions. Price-wise, of course, I understand if you want to get the Full Metal editions because of the price, but if it's the chapters you're missing, they're now here. Alright, so that is the first shelf. That's a lot on here. Let's move on to the next one. I'm gonna be in this awkward squat position. Alright, this is the shelf just below. I don't know why I did that. So, before we get to this shelf, I actually was planning on taking these books and moving over here, and taking this series and moved over here. But then, I had already recorded the B-roll for this shelf, so I have to wait until after I'm making this video. The reason is that the first series on here is Blame, and stuck right in here is Noise, which is tiny and kind of stuck in there, and it makes it awkward. Also a series I have yet to read. This is a running theme now. Yes, review. Now Noise, in case you don't know, is the prologue for Blame, and I think some places it's actually also called Blame Zero. Next to that we have Hellsing in Dark Horse Deluxe Edition. This is all of Hellsing, all 10 volumes. The same goes with this as with Blame. Haven't read it, gonna make a review on it at some point. That's how it is, but I love my deluxe editions. They are just awesome quality. I'm gonna get back to them in a moment. The good thing about Hellsing is there's only 3 volumes, so if you want the deluxe editions of any Dark Horse series, but you don't have that much money, Hellsing is a possibility because it's only 3. Next to that, we have Soul Eater, the perfect edition. I have always wanted Soul Eater, but when I was considering actually starting on the paperback singles, it was announced that these were gonna be a thing. So I was gonna jump onto this instead. And later this year, the spin-off slash brief sequel series called Soul Eater Not is also gonna get the perfect edition treatment, and there are gonna be 3 volumes of that, if I'm not mistaken, based on the Japanese Kanzenban. But that is this shelf right here. I have only read one of the series on it, which just what it is. But yes, let's get on to the next one. Oh, being on my knees. This hurts a lot. Can I squat? This is stupid. I'm gonna make it work. Alright. It's gonna be like this. Can't be any other way. So, the shelf just beneath. And would you look at that? Another Dark Horse Deluxe Edition. This one is Blade of the Immortal. The Deluxe Edition completed. And I have not read all of this. I have only read the first 4 volumes of the Deluxe Edition, and I must say it is an awesome samurai series. It's also the only one I have ever read. I was also promising I'm gonna get back to the Deluxe Edition in more than one way. The enjoyability of reading Deluxe Editions from Dark Horse because of their sizes and weight. You cannot read these like any other volume, like you normally would. Laying down, sitting down or whatever, and just be comfortable because they are big, they are heavy. If you rest them on your stomach, you can do that. I have read these in my bed. You're gonna have to rest them on your stomach, and it's gonna hurt a little. But you can also read them at a desk. And I just have to say, the reading experience is worth it, because the paper quality and the size makes the artist's art pop. It is. You can't even compare it to the original singles or any omnibuses, anything. The same goes for Berserk also. Once you have seen the art in these big bad boys, I almost guarantee you do not want to go back to whatever format you read them in beforehand. Just putting that out there. Next to that, we have Inuyashiki, which is by the author of Gantz. Getting tired of saying this, but yes, I have not read this because I'm making a review for it at some point. At least this is the last one I'm planning on making a review for, because this is the last series I have completed 100% before starting reading it. So, because I actually started reading Blade of the Immortal before I completed it, so that's why I'm not gonna make a review for it. But yes, that's Inuyashiki. I'm looking very much forward to actually reading it, because the art, the few pages I've skimmed, looked awesome. I also want to get Gantz at some point, but it's not gonna be those bricks that Dark Horse sells. It's gonna be if they do make a deluxe edition out of it. I hope so, but we'll see. Alright, let's get further down so I can get into a more comfortable position, because this is tough on my legs. Holy hell. My feet actually started cramping at the end of the former shelf. Alright, so this one. I guess we're gonna start over here. So over here we have a new series that I got in 2023, which is Helck. I do not know much about Helck. I know very little about Helck. But I do know this. People seem to love it. People seem to call it underrated, underappreciated. Looking very much forward to start reading it. Then next to that we have this big series that's just kind of taking up the whole shelf, which is Fire Force, which is by the same author who did Soul Eater. Fire Force is an awesome series, and I'm still mind blown that it was a weekly series, because the art is crazy for it to be weekly. So people are spontaneously combusting and becoming these fire demons, and then these fire soldiers are extinguishing these demons by killing them, basically. But there's more to the mystery than that, and I also love the ending. The ending is batshit crazy. You do not see it coming. It goes in a bonkers direction suddenly. But when everything is said and done, it just makes sense in a weird... You can't really explain it without spoiling it, and I won't. Just know it is a great ending. That's all I'm gonna say. Next to that, however, is Rooster Fighter. I have the first 4 volumes. Volume 5 just dropped. Rooster Fighter has a stupidly awesome premise. You have this rooster at the size of a rooster fighting kaiju at the size of kaiju, you know, 20 stories buildings and something like that. And the rooster often wins. That's the premise. That's basically the premise. It's just this rooster going around kicking kaiju ass, and he's being a badass about it. There's not much to say about it, except that the art in here is on the level of One Punch Man. So basically, if One Punch Man was a rooster fighting kaiju, that would be the series. Do I need to say more to convince you to start reading Rooster Fighter? But yes, that is this shelf. There's not much on it. It's basically just Fire Force and some random shit. Alright, let's jump on to the next one. Yeah. That wasn't because me being confused. Do we need to jump on to the next one? No, I just wanted to see how many different series are down here, and there are a couple. So let's jump on to the next one. Okay. So on to the third to last shelf. Almost there. So, right here behind me we have a series that does not need an introduction unless you are very new to manga. In that case, let me introduce you to Fist of the North Star. This is a legendary series, and I do mean that. If you think Dragon Ball is legendary. This bad boy is what trained Dragon Ball. It was its precursor. It is its master. Basically, it's just what if Saitama was Mad Max. That's pretty much the best I can describe it as. What I love about these, besides them being hardcover, because is that this also has connected spines. You can kind of see them here. There's these blood patterns right here, using the camera's display to hit this correctly. But yeah, these blood patterns here, and at first I thought they were random, but then someone on Reddit pointed out, and it hit me instantly. They're gonna form the Dipper. And the reason why that is important is that our main character has the Great Dipper as scars on his chest. That is awesome. Next to that one, we have Record of Ragnarok. Basically, the tournament, the manga. I mean, there is more to it than that, but it's the main focus of it, at least. Basically, it's just that the gods want to eradicate humans, but to give the humans one final chance, they're gonna have a tournament. 13 rounds. However, which side gets to 7 wins first means that if the gods wins, all of humanity will die. If humans wins, the humans get to live another 1,000 years. There you go. Next to that, we have Fire Punch. Here I'm only missing 2 more volumes and then I have all of it. I am not gonna read it until I have the last 2 volumes, but I'm also not gonna wait and then make a review for it. I'm just gonna read it. Apparently it is like, what if Wolverine was set on fire by the flame that would never die out until its target was dead? Fire Punch. Next to that, we have Look Back and Goodbye Eri, which is one-shots also by Fujimoto. And those are freaking amazing. You don't even have to be a Fujimoto fan to enjoy these. It will help because it does have his unique flair, especially Goodbye Eri. But just as a manga lover, enjoyer, or if you're interested in manga but you don't want to commit to too much, I can highly recommend getting either Look Back or Goodbye Eri, because you will probably resonate with them in some form or fashion. And next to that, we have Ubel Blatt. It's probably the only volume I will ever have of Ubel Blatt, because when I wanted to collect them, Yen Press, they stopped printing the volumes for some weird reason. So now you can get 8 of the remaining 11 volumes. I mean, you can, but you're gonna have to buy them second hand at exceptionally costly price. I'm not gonna do that. But anywho, that is this shelf right here. Right, there's only 2 more shelves to go, and then that will be it. So, undignified. All right. Cool. So, the last 2 shelves, I'm just gonna get them in one go here. So over here we have a retelling of the origin of Astro Boy. So I have 2 reimaginings of Astro Boy, but not the original series. If you have small kids that is interested in manga but you don't know what to start them with, this should be right up their alley, because it still teaches valuable lessons and, like, you know, the meaning of life and what does death mean and such. But it has a very charming art style and it's very heartwarming, and I really do enjoy this series. It's very, very short, only 3 volumes, but if you can find it, I highly recommend you reading it. And then behind me here, filling out the rest of this shelf, we have Yu-Gi-Oh! And in case you don't know, I'm a big Yu-Gi-Oh! Fan. I don't play the card game as much anymore, but I do have my set of cards. And this manga is fantastic. The card game in here, unlike the anime and such, has a much more pen and paper RPG, Dungeons and Dragons type of feel to it, where they can bullshit their way out of a lot of situations. And also this is much more bloody, gory, and adult aimed than the anime, just gonna say that. And also it is just a fun read, and the ending is actually quite emotional. And also I want to highlight these 3 bad boys here, which is just some brass casting of the 3 god cards, which I thought just were, you know, completing the Yu-Gi-Oh! Look. And also this is the Danish version, in case you are wondering why does it look like that. It's because it's the Danish version. It is one of the few series besides the Astro Boy and Dragon Ball that actually managed to be completed before the Danish department shut down. And then the bottom shelf. Finally, the bottom shelf is not the trash shelf. Over here we have Jujutsu Kaisen. I have not read all of it. I think I have read up until volume 13 or 14, but I like this series. The art style is very, very, very rough, but it fits the vibe of the story. It's kind of like Chainsaw Man. You kind of know what to expect from it, and still it managed to surprise you. That's all I'm gonna say. Then I just gonna move out of frame. Fuck it. It's gonna be here. Next to that, I'm just gonna yes, that is Mashle Volume 1 up until Volume 13. Volume 14 just got released. Basically, if One Punch Man was transported into the Harry Potter world, it has actually no business being as fun as it is. It is hilariously laughing out loud fun. It does not take itself too seriously. It seems like it's set out this goal from the get-go, and it's just going towards that. It's no bullshit, no extra fluff, doesn't want to make the world too complex, just tell its story and then get out. Next to that, the final series is Kaiju number 8. The story is fine, it is again battle shonen, but I like the premise, I like the ideas, I like the execution of it, and I'm just looking forward to see where this series will end. So I'm just gonna go in here. So normally I would reset, put the camera up and such, and then reset and do the final thing while standing up, but for once I'm gonna do something different. I'm gonna end it while laying down, because I'm lazy ass today. Apparently. So I just wanted to quickly summarize my collection. Last year I ended the year with 530 volumes. This year I was so close to a milestone. I am standing at 644 volumes, and that's exclude art books, light novels and such. It does not exclude, I believe, double buys. So I am including my 2 German volumes, FYI, because I paid for them and they are here and they were in my collection. But yes, my collection stands at 644, which means that if we keep pace with this year, I'm not sure, because those 114 volumes were insane. But if we keep pace, I will get to 750, which is gonna be the next big milestone before the 1000 volume mark. So that is my manga collection. I have been recording for 2 days now. Did you notice? And I'm tired. I just need to edit this and hopefully make sure it's under an hour. I cannot guarantee anything. I mean, you already know, you clicked on the video, but only future me will know. But also, I wanted to know, what does your manga collection look like? How many volumes do you have? Don't be shy. Even if you have one single volume, you have a collection, because it is not the size of collection that matters. You can have all the volumes in the world, but if you only enjoy a percentile of it, then your collection is meaningless. So as long as you only collect what you enjoy, you have an awesome collection. Just letting you know. But what does your collection look like? You don't have to list all of it. I mean, you can if you wanna, but you don't have to. But kind of summarize maybe your top 3 or top 5 favorite mangas in your collection, and also the number. I'm very, very curious. If I had to rate or list my top 5 just here at the tail end before I close off, it will probably be Berserk, Vinland Saga, Full Metal Alchemist. Then it will be, I mean, One Piece, even though I don't have all of it. And then maybe Akira, but it is a tough one. It will probably change later. Who knows? They always does. They always shuffle around. But yes, I'm tired. I'm gonna end it here. I'm not gonna take any more of your time. I'm looking very much forward to see how your collections look like, and also I'm gonna look very much forward to seeing you continuously throughout 2024. Alright, until I see you in the next video, remember to stay awesome. See ya. Jesus Christ!